The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, I suppose. Welcome to today's webinar on how you can bring VS Code Smarts to your Eclipse-based IDE. In particular, we're focusing today on how CodeMix can actually be used by our existing Genuitec customers. So if you're using My Eclipse, WebClipse, Angular IDE, or DevStyle, as well as, of course, our secure delivery users. In the GoToWebinar console, there is a questions area. Please don't hesitate to drop us any questions you may have. Today we'll cover briefly what is CodeMix. We're going to have a short demonstration, just a few minutes long, to give you an idea of what CodeMix actually feels like. Talk about how you can get CodeMix in your Genuitec software and how they play nice, as well as a little bit about some upcoming releases, so things like what's coming in My Eclipse 2018. And we'll end with a Q&A. Our goal is to have this pretty tight, so we're shooting for less than 30 minutes to try to really kind of get to the key points and move on. We know you all have lots of things going on in your day-to-day, and we thank you for joining. We have a good number of attendees, which is superb. So I am Timothy Webb. I am the Vice President of Operations here at Genuitec, and with us we have Brian.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Fernandez, and I'm the Director of Customer Engagement here at Genuitec. Sarah?
Hi there, Sarah Kuntz. I'm Director of Sales and Marketing and very passionate about customer services as well.
Superb, thank you. So you'll know their voices now as we go through. So first up, what is CodeMix? So in short, CodeMix is a way to bring smarts to the Eclipse stack. You may be familiar with language servers and this whole movement to make it a generic so editors or IDEs can work with any language. But the reality is you need a whole bunch more than that to have a good development experience. So what we're doing with CodeMix is actually exposing a lot of the smarts that VS Code has and making it available in CodeMix. It is free for our current licensed customers using our IDE products. And Sarah will talk about that in a bit more detail a bit later in terms of how you can get it. So as a current customer, we're not here pitching you. We're just trying to talk about some of the new value coming and how it impacts our product roadmaps. So how did we get to CodeMix? My Eclipse, we started back in 2003 and had lots of really cool things in it for Java EE and Spring. And over the years, we added a bit more smarts in different areas as the industry changed. We added quite a bit of smarts, as it turned out, in the JavaScript area, and ultimately spun out a separate product called WebClipse, which of course was always available as part of My Eclipse. During WebClipse, we added TypeScript, industry changing, eventually get to Angular IDE. Yeah, technologies. You really want smarts for specific technologies. And that's when things got interesting, right? Man, each of these spaces is moving so quickly. What could we do at Genuitec to make sure that we're giving our users the best experience and providing the most value? And we found ourselves spending a lot of time developing kind of the core support for Angular, say, and not as much time providing cool value adds on top, which is really where we like to really provide value for you. So here comes CodeMix. And what CodeMix allows us to do is bring in all those sort of smarts at the language level, good content assist. So you can have great CSS content assist inside your HTML styles definition. And Brian will talk a little bit about how that all works in a moment, and bring that to our user base. How that works, you have your My Eclipse or Eclipse IDE, you have your CodeMix UI in it, and we have essentially a fork of this Code OSS layer. And that allows us to have all of the kind of extensions and smarts for different languages, hundreds, thousands of plugins on GitHub that you can use, and have that all available through your CodeMix and Eclipse-based IDE. So again, a really cool way to totally change that experience. But it's not just about the coding. We also started to bring over some interesting usability patterns, like being able to expose a command palette, and we'll see that in action. That gives you, the developer, advantages, of course. It means we don't have to spend as much time at Genuitec trying to provide compatibility for the umpteenth different sorts of technologies. The developers who actually work on those technologies are already making extensions for VS Code because it's so web friendly, which means you can get all that great stuff for free. And ultimately, we get to focus on providing great value add as part of, Spring and Java development, as well as provide that great tech experience you need to complement your tool stack. So we're going to switch over and actually see this guy in action. So Brian.
All right, thanks, Tim. So today I'm going to basically show you how CodeMix gives you a better coding experience. Whether you're working something new, like a React application, for instance, or even an existing Java EE application. So in the quick demo that follows, we're going to create a new React application, work with an existing Java EE pet store app, and we'll wind up with a quick debug sequence. So on to the demo. Okay, so what we have here is my Eclipse 2017 CI10, into which we've installed CodeMix. The installation from the marketplace is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is drag and drop. I do want to mention that CodeMix will only work with my Eclipse 2017, not prior versions. So the easiest way to get started with a new project is to use the new project wizard. We've got wizards for Angular, PHP, Python, Vue, and React, of course. Project process is pretty straightforward. Create a skeleton React application, go through a few of the files here, the React equivalent of basically Hello World. We do something similar for most other project types too. We've also installed a React extension pack. And what that does is it brings with it a number of extensions that extend the React development capabilities that are already built into CodeMix, some of them already part of CodeMix. So we'll talk more about extensions in the upcoming slides. All right, so now back to Java EE. CodeMix can still add value here too. For instance, one common request we received is better CSS support. CodeMix delivers a far better CSS editor than what we've ever had in my Eclipse. One ultra cool feature is that when you hover over elements, the pop-up will show you what elements that style would apply to. Another behavior is content assist shows up as you type, and you even get previews for the code that's going to be inserted. Of course, we support the latest CSS3 properties as well. So now, even if you move to JSP, and in a JSP file, if you were to open it in a CodeMix editor, you'd be able to use some new snippets, emit, of course, and you'd even see some handy support like getting content assist suggestions that would cover CSS classes that we actually scanned your workspace and discovered. Okay, so now let's move back to our React application. Now, NPM support is pretty important. Basically, most web apps these days are node-based, and they have node modules. One of my favorite features is how the content assist in the dependencies section will include suggestions for NPM modules, and it'll even show you the latest version of that module. Very handy when you're updating packages. The validation that we have for package.json will also tell you if a package you've referenced is not installed. You haven't done NPM install yet. Now, in the JavaScript files, we have this cool hover, which shows you the implementation of methods or classes. You don't need to jump around if you just want a quick peek. The content assist is React specific, along with very handy documentation. So if you're new to React, the documentation is a great help in attributes or functions, wherever. Finally, we do have some React-specific linting as well, so not just JavaScript, along with quick fix support that can fix some of these issues automatically. The command palette, you can see up there, is immensely useful. We use it to jump to different resources in your workspace, navigate around your current file, jumping to different functions or classes, even variables. Most importantly, you can use it to execute commands like npm install. You can format some source code, and there are regular Eclipse commands in there as well, as you can see. So you could even use it to open views and close editors. So we'll move on now to running this application, show you how debugging works. We're going to use the npm command to start our application, and we're going to deploy the Java EE app to a local Wildfly server using standard MyEclipse technologies. This is going to provide basically the backend web services for our React frontend. So you can set up a debug launch, and this is where you'd set up source maps and ports, etc. And finally, you can debug the application as well. It brings up Chrome. You see Chrome there running your application in it. You can set up breakpoints, do the usual thing, step through items, and even inspect data. And of course, one of my favorite features is the debug console, which you can use to inspect data, inspect values, and even change runtime values very easily. You can see that that's changed in our running application. Okay, so that's about it for the demo. I hope you enjoyed this brief walk through the CodeMix features. And let's go back to the slides to talk about a few of the other frameworks and capabilities that we support with CodeMix. So if you've been developing with Vue, you're probably familiar with Vue files, single file that contains HTML, styles, JavaScript, TypeScript. And with CodeMix, you see that each section of this file is correctly highlighted. And it goes without saying, you'll get the expected content assist support in each section. Navigation in this sort of file is very tricky as well. You saw some navigation earlier. You'll be able to use the same sort of navigation capabilities to jump between sections. And there is validation as you type. So this includes Vue-specific problems. For example, you've defined data as a property, not as a function. Or if you have duplicate properties defined, we'll be able to catch that as well. And there's also simple stuff like using double quotes instead of single quotes. And a lot of these issues, again, can be automatically fixed with our quick fix support. Now, building and debugging is pretty straightforward. You can place a breakpoint in JavaScript or TypeScript. And even in the script sections in Vue files, you can step through your code and use the debug console as usual to inspect or change values. Let's move on now to our next section, Python. So as you might expect, as part of the support for most languages, the IntelliSense support for Python includes intelligent code completion, and it provides some handy documentation as well. You can use snippets to insert common bits of code. Validation is present, and you can use Python-specific linters like PyLint, PEP8, Flake8 to ensure you catch not only syntax errors, but potentially poorly written code as well. You can see a little bit of the refactoring capabilities that we have available, again, through the command palette, extract variables and methods, and even launch debugging sessions. As far as debugging is concerned, you can debug everything from a simple console application to something built with Django or even PySpark. Onwards to debugging. So you can, with the CodeMix debugger, you can debug pretty much anything. From something regular like JavaScript to something obscure like an application written in Rust. We're talking about frameworks like Angular, React, Vue, or even languages like Python, C++, and PHP. The list goes on. All you need to do is ensure you have the right extension installed. You will continue to get the same the same debug experience that you are used to when debugging with Eclipse. Breakpoints, stepping over methods, stepping into them, stopping before the program executes. And see, the variable view is very detailed. The debug console is pretty awesome. And the debuggers can connect in multiple ways. They can launch applications for you, or they can even connect to existing applications that are already running. And finally, extensions. So extensions actually add a whole range of functionality to your CodeMix installation. Basically, an extension can add support for frameworks like Vue and React, or languages like C or Python. Some add smart snippets, different syntax highlighting capabilities, code formatters, or even the ability to say test REST web services. The abilities of extensions are limitless. And as Tim said earlier, thousands of them available online. In our extension manager, which you can see, you'll find a curated list of extension packs, which really are the most reliable, capable, and popular extensions for development in a given domain. You can see that we've got packs for a number of domains. And as you saw in our demo, packs get installed automatically. You can go ahead and install it from the browser, and you're ready for development. The best part is most extensions will activate without even restarting the IDE. Now, you're not limited to extension packs that are created by us. You can find packs and individual extensions online and install them just as easily. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who's going to tell you how to get your hands on, how you can get your hands on this wonderful piece of software.
Thanks, Brian. Really cool to see things in action and see all the capabilities. Okay, so as Genuitec customers, probably one of the big reasons you're here is to find out how can you get CodeMix, how can you use it. So we're currently in a technical preview and we are releasing fixes quite a bit. We're kind of at one a week, but we've actually had 2 this week already. So working a lot on improving the product very rapidly. And to get it in your current product, you can download and install into your current product. As Brian mentioned earlier, it's my Eclipse 2017 or another Eclipse 4.6 or greater. So if you're using an older version of my Eclipse, no problem. Just as always, we do allow you to upgrade to a newer version. There's using your same license. It doesn't cost anything or anything like that to upgrade. So just go out to, excuse me, our website and get my Eclipse 2017, and then you can download and install CodeMix right into there. And as we've talked about, CodeMix is and will always be included in your current license for My Eclipse Professional or more. That's Blue, Spring, or Bling as well. And if you have an Angular IDE or WebClips license as well. Now, if you are using DevStyle or My Eclipse Standard, they do not include CodeMix, but you can always give us a call and we will be happy to help you out. Next slide. All right, so for those of you that are on our secure packages using Secure Delivery Center, if you are delivering Angular Web Clips or My Eclipse via SDC, as we already mentioned, it is already included. If you are using SDC for just a basic Eclipse delivery management, then it can be added on as an upgrade. And again, contact your representative or sales department and we'll be happy to help you out. And to get started in SDC, you'll install CodeMix as a third-party library. As I mentioned, we're right now in the technical preview, but we will be including packs for CodeMix as we move forward in the stages of development. And if there's any other questions, we have an FAQ page for existing customers, and we're trying to make sure that we keep this up to date so people can kind of learn where we are and what's new and coming and how to get CodeMix as we move forward in this process as well. So I encourage you to check that page out if you have any further questions. And next, we'll move on to kind of product releases and what's coming. Tim discussed earlier in the thing why we decided to do CodeMix, and it really allows us to do some different things with our other products and improve the development of our other products as well. So Angular IDE 2018 will be on CodeMix. It'll be built on top of CodeMix. It'll have the same core features with the enhanced coding experience from CodeMix. And then later Angular IDE will be phased out, by Web Clips will be phased out. But we're not going to have you ever lose any capabilities if you're using Angular IDE or Web Clips. The big thing we want to make sure is that we're not taking any capabilities away from our existing customers. We're just improving the experience that they have. And this is where Web Clips will eventually become CodeMix. We'll rebrand it and do some re-architecture, again, back to improvement in the way that we can continue to maintain the product by having it CodeMix based. And for right now, if you're using Web Clips and using CodeMix, they'll be side by side, and this will remain that way for a while. We want to make sure that we, when we do switch Web Clips over to CodeMix, that you are getting as good of an experience, actually better than an experience that you currently have. And so we're not going to be making that changeover until we can ensure that. The licensing will always be one and the same. So if you're licensed as Web Clips, you're licensed as Angular IDE, you're not losing anything. You'll be able to use the products no matter what. And this brings us to my Eclipse 2018. And I'm actually going to let Brian talk a little bit about this. Brian's been working with MyEclipse and MyEclipse customers for a long time. He's really passionate about it. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about, you know, kind of what's coming and the excitement that this CodeMix change allows us to have also for 2018 and what we'll be doing next.
All right, thanks, Sarah. So, you know, given our timing with MyEclipse 2018, we're going to be skipping the Eclipse Oxygen stream and jumping to Photon directly. So Photon is really especially exciting. If you've been seeing what's reports online, there are some serious performance improvements in the base version of Eclipse. And of course, there's Java 10 support. We're definitely going to be refreshing all the innards of MyEclipse as well. So CI0 will include updated Maven support, persistence, and I want to especially mention that we updated Spring tooling as well with better support for Spring Boot projects. Now, in 2018 CI1, we're going to be integrating CodeMix with MyEclipse. So you'll no longer need to install it separately as you do now. So just to reiterate, you can install CodeMix into MyEclipse 2017 right now, but with 2018, the CI1, it will be part of MyEclipse. And the Angular support, so since MyEclipse already includes Angular support that's built by Angular IDE, it's going to change to the version that's built on CodeMix that Sarah just spoke about. And that's really going to give you the best of both worlds. So really exciting to see what's coming up with MyEclipse in 2018. Over to you, Sarah.
All right, thanks, Brian. And so kind of the final things I'll mention, if you have any questions, you can pop them in that question box here in the go-to panel. And while you guys kind of put up some questions, I'll talk about a few other things. So some links to get started, Genuitec.com's products CodeMix is where you can get CodeMix. You can also go directly to the Eclipse Marketplace to get CodeMix as well. So those are places you can get it. And, you know, we want to make sure that your experience is as good as possible. So if you have any questions, please shoot us an email at sales@genuitec.com. Customer representatives will be happy to answer any questions, make sure that, you know, your users get access as they need to. And we actually also have, when you join CodeMix, there's some insiders groups and that sort of thing, and we'd love to hear your feedback about the product as well. So anything like that, you can either send to sales or you can join our groups and ask questions in there as well. All right, I'm looking to see if we have any questions.
We got one interesting one, which is, you know, what is the timing for MyEclipse 2018? Yeah, as Brian mentioned, it's going to come out in a couple phases, and that's going to be coming out quite soon. The first stable release will be around when Photon hits GA, but we'll be having a CI release, you know, within about a month. It's in development now, and exact timing depends, of course, on the whole QA process, as all of us are engineers on today's call. We'll also be trying to get out a technical preview for CodeMix around the same time, around that late June, July timeline. Our goal with CodeMix in the technical preview is to rapidly update and then, of course, move into a more stable area. And then at that point, we can, of course, focus on other products as well, just like we're doing with MyEclipse 2018 right now. Let's see. Regarding Java support, so CodeMix, the way it binds, it does work with any extensions for CodeOSS or VS Code, and that includes the Java support for that. There are some really interesting things that CodeMix provides from a usability perspective, and one of them is, you know, around the sort of like code lens, or you hover and you see things. Whether or not we directly use the Java support from the CodeOSS extension, or if we just provide some of those usability things on top of the actual Java editor in Eclipse, but we will try to improve and provide some of those usability improvements that CodeMix provides to Eclipse also for Java as well. I see now another question. Do we have any in-depth videos or directions on how to use CodeMix with different JavaScript frameworks? And actually, Brian has just started releasing some videos. So Brian, perhaps you want to answer that one.
All right, so it would be interesting to know what frameworks you're talking about. But if you're talking about the big ones like Angular, Vue, and React, yes, there are definitely plans to have a few articles or videos on how you can use CodeMix for the best development experience in Eclipse. Okay, I see you already said you're interested in Vue, and yes, we'll take that. That is one of my favorite new frameworks as well, and we'll definitely do something with that. Thank you for asking.
Okay, another question. Any existing extensions for COBOL or VBS scripting? To do that, I would check like on GitHub. You can find a whole bunch of extensions, or searching the internet. There are a plethora out there. I wouldn't be surprised to find one for VBS. I don't know about COBOL. I could Google really quick myself, but honestly, I don't know off the top of my head. I will say we do have a massive amount of support for different like coloring and syntaxes. So for a lot of languages, even if you don't have support installed, you get some basic smarts about the language. I will say, just from a quick Google, it does look like there is on GitHub a COBOL extension for coloring source code for COBOL, but I don't know how much other smarts it has beyond that. Great. So it looks like we're about winding down on questions. Thank you so much for your attendance. It was great to see a comment from one person to mention you've been a customer since 2004 and still loving it, and even more now. Great to hear that. And we're super excited with where CodeMix is going. And I will just end with a thought that we're doing CodeMix also so that we don't have to spend so much time supporting every framework, because a lot of these extensions come for free and can provide a lot more value add back into the core products as well. So, more frequent Spring updates or whatever else it may be. So we're really excited too for where this is all going. So have a great rest of your day, and hopefully a nice weekend's coming up. And we look forward to all the feedback you can provide in the forums. We have insider channels. So if you haven't joined the insider channels, we have Slack, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and we have become more direct communication to our developers. If you want to get more in touch and provide quick early feedback, it's superb to have you join as an insider. So again, thank you so much for your attendance today, and have a great day. Take care.